word from Reed Ayers on the men's soccer side. It's time to bring on the guy who's in charge of the whole thing, Steve Thompson, who is starting year number two at Baldwin Wallace. Great to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me, as always. Love being here with you.
Thanks for having you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, right? That's a good point.
How was your summer?
Man, summer was great. Had a lot of fun. Got to take the kids out a couple places, the most magical place on earth.
Oh, jeez.
Donations are accepted right now to pay back the loan payments I had to go just to go to Disney World with the kids.
You could sneeze and drop $10,000 at Disney World.
Yeah, well, I didn't sneeze then because
it's a wonderful place for families, but it is certainly a challenge to get down there, no doubt.
Yeah, summer's been good.
Good. Hey, let's talk about the year that was before we talk about what's to come here. I realize you sort of walked into a challenging situation because you're coming off of COVID. There's no playbook for getting through COVID as a college, director of athletics. And to try to build something where you establish your own identity and rally an athletic department that, frankly, needs leadership during that kind of a time period. What'd you learn about yourself in year one?
Whew. Man, first coming in, I was at a different institution dealing with COVID for the first year and a half of it, right? And just the job Chris Diaz and then John Snell did during that time from March of 20 through my arrival last June, I can't say enough about what they did to help kind of position me to be able to be successful. So, I got in and we had things in place and we're slowly coming out. We went backwards a little bit in January where students weren't allowed to come to basketball games and stuff, but we were able to work through that. And really what I would say I learned about myself, I think that just the importance of relationships and maybe the early trust I was willing to have in our coaches, right? There's always a time frame where you need to build trust in the people you work with, and I'm blessed. The coaches, the student athletes, trusted me pretty quick, and then I trusted them as we went through that, and still we were testing to some level, still had the quarantines, the isolations and all that, but working together and finding that trust really quick was so important. And it didn't burn me too much, so we're still here for year two, so that's a good sign.
Look, I only ask this somewhat tongue-in-cheek because I know there's a method to your madness. Some of that has to come from, hey, yeah, I'll throw a banana costume on, or I'll go wrestle, or whatever. There's a relatability there that helps to build that trust.
Right. No, anything I do is all about relationships, and I think when you can, or I believe strongly, I think if you can find a little humor in it and put your guard down, people will maybe connect to you a little bit easier. So that's a lot of what I do is let them see my guard lowered. I'm weigh probably about 125 pounds soaking wet at 6'4", and I put on a wrestling singlet, and I went in. I did make a 3 in the middle of men's basketball practice, and I'll love that, and that'll probably be the high water mark of my career at BW. But I went in and then I ran around with the wrestlers and that sort of thing, and those moments are so important because these young men and women need to see that it's not all just, especially coming out of COVID, right? It wasn't all just a life or death situation. It was really a hard time for anybody, let alone an 18 to 22-year-old whose identity at one point is they're a football player, a women's basketball player, and then March of 2020, they were at home or wherever on a Zoom, and they no longer had that part of their life, and so to be able to be a little bit of that comedic, whatever you want to call it, but I'm willing to do that. And so throwing on the banana costume at our awards banquet, doing the shots, and I'll still go into the gym, not in a wrestling singlet, but those different things are, it's definitely for the best. But I just had last Thursday, I know you were talking to Coach Hilbert earlier, I just made a great catch down at my alma mater on the sideline. That was on Twitter, where our transfer quarterback threw a nice ball to the corner of the end zone, and I scored it, so that was good.
Out of curiosity, who called it a great catch? Just you?
Just me. Self-proclaimed on Twitter.
It was a great catch.
On Twitter, self-proclaimed.
Steve Thompson, our Director of Athletics, our guest here on the tail end of our show. COVID aside, because I think in a lot of ways people are kind of sick of talking about it and hearing about it. Give us an idea of what you felt like you accomplished in year one and what left you wanting more here as you start the second year.
Man, I would probably sit here and tell you I didn't accomplish anything. Our young men and women accomplished a great deal, and I love being able to brag about them, right? You had Coach Hilbert, had a great football season last year, came up a couple seconds short, really. But still, we had great attendance for our Saturdays in Berea. You roll into the winter, women's basketball goes to the Sweet 16. I got to travel with them to Gettysburg for their first two rounds. That was fantastic. Kind of got to itch my history-loving bone in my body as well, cool. So that was good. That was really awesome. Saturday morning in Gettysburg, PA, going through that battlefield, enjoying a cup of coffees.
Like a borderline religious experience.
Yeah, that's exactly how to put it. You know, the fog was rising, but had that. Then I went out with our wrestling team to Cedar Rapids and saw Jake Decatur win the national championship, Michael Petrella, which was probably the most exhilarating sporting event because, you know, wrestling's 7 minutes, and ultimately in those 7 minutes, the entire arena but one small school out of Iowa started cheering for Michael Petrella, and that was so much fun, and awesome. Hair on my arms, right? So I got to do that, and those experiences, and then obviously with the baseball team then, and even before that, men's lacrosse winning the OAC. You know, we had Hope Murphy in the fall, Hope Murphy and Alyssa Lochner in the winter, and
then again in the spring.
In spring, yeah, and then ultimately the baseball run. The only painful thing about that was I had booked a Disney trip, so I was at the hotel pool, the Disney Resort pool, watching our baseball team in the World Series. That was probably the only way I would ever miss a World Series game. But I went to the first rounds in Rochester, Brockport, which was fantastic to see those guys. I got to jump on that pile. That was awesome. But it wasn't anything really about what I achieved, just what they did, and buying into kind of the message we're giving them right now of being an entire family within the athletic department. And really, what I'm looking for, right? That success we had last year is, it just leaves you wanting more. And where else we can go with some of our other programs. Reed, has done a great job with we got some exciting young freshmen in this year, and where the soccer programs could possibly go with him and Jim. Woykin, and then rolling into the winter with men's basketball. What can we do from that standpoint? Got a Rittman recruit on the men's basketball team, which is my high school alma mater, so the men's basketball budget was just increased by like $200,000. But no, I just really to seeing what's the ceiling for BW Athletics, and we're not close yet. We got a lot of work to do, but the potential is limitless.
Look, I think a lot of people would appreciate the fact that you would say, look, it's the kids. But there is something about when you look at the health of an athletic department. You need good coaches, you need programs, you need people that can recruit, and you need leadership. And when those things all come together, special things can happen. And I don't need to rehash it because you touched on a lot of it, but, man, 2021-22 as an academic year featured a heck of a lot of success for the Yellow Jackets across lots of different sports. And from the outside looking in, I think folks would say, gosh, that's a really healthy place. Facilities that look good, coaches that have a ton of energy, a lot of local kids that are choosing to stay closer to home, but there are certainly some talented student athletes that are saying, no, that's a place I want to go travel to and spend my college days. And I think it's a credit to what you've done and to what a lot of your coaches have done. How would you describe the cohesion that you guys have as an athletic department for somebody that doesn't, maybe we've got a soccer fan watching tonight because we had Coach Ayers on.
Yeah.
But they're not too familiar with our softball program or the women's volleyball program, which is under new leadership. How would you describe to someone who doesn't know some of the other programs the cohesion that you guys have as a group?
Yeah, I think that is where a lot of the success comes from, right? Is, first of all, our coaches support one another like you wouldn't believe, right? We had Coach Hilbert, Coach Ayers on tonight. Coach Hare, is here
yep.
Just to watch and be a part of the evening. And that's just not three people, right? We have several golf outings over the summer, which are a lot of fun for me to get to know some alumni and friends of the programs. But our coaches are playing and supporting in each one. So the football outing has our men's basketball staff, and the wrestling outing has some baseball guys and the basketball staff. And so they know, and this is kind of cliche, right, is rising tides lift all boats.
Absolutely.
And they see that from the momentum, and so they're supporting each other, and then the kids feed off that, right? The kids start to show up for each other, and you have at some of our volleyball games last year, because I truly believe, and she's no longer with us, Coach Casey, she was going out and supporting each other,
Heck yeah.
supporting some other programs.
By the way, she's still with us. She's just not with us at BW.
Yeah, she's no longer at BW. That's a great – man, did that sound terrible?
Casey's good. She's moved down to Fort Lauderdale. Oh, my gosh.
That was a very callous statement if it wasn't.
And we wish Casey good luck with the Sharks from Nova Southeastern, but she's still very much with us.
Yeah, no. Just trying to use her as an example. That sounds terrible. I'm going to get a text in no time. But
That's funny.
But that, those kind of things, and then all of a sudden you see, Coach Harrison show up at the football games, and or maybe it's a women's basketball game. I can think of some of the men's lacrosse staff at a women's basketball game. And so then the kids see that, and they start to support one another, and that's where the energy comes into the buildings, and you really thrive off each other. One of the things we're doing again this year, which Alan Culp, who was our faculty athletic representative for I think 12 or 13 years, he taught a leadership symposium. We've continued that, and that gives us a chance for then even student-athlete leaders of different programs to interact with our different coaches. So just last Tuesday, our first class, and you had a couple baseball guys sitting and talking with Coach Hare, and the baseball coach was talking, Coach Harrison was talking to some wrestlers, and they start to see where that interconnectedness comes from, and they start to place some value on it. And it really just stems from that coach, the respect, the care they have for one another is just second to none. And so for a 17 or 18-year-old then looking for a college, that's you can play basketball anywhere.
Sure.
But can you go play basketball for a coach that could change your life? There's only a few places that can do that.
Yeah.
And I think BW, obviously, with the coaching staff we have, both on the men's and women's side, is that kind of place. And, I tell this story a lot at all our freshman orientations about the impact my college basketball coach had on my life. And if it wasn't for him and my parents, I wouldn't be here. And that's across the board. That's every coach I'm so proud that we have on this staff, because they have the possibility, they have the ability to positively impact so many people. I feel like you just looked at your computer because Casey texted you to give you a hard time.
She sure did.
But not dead Casey, which is good. But no, just the coaches we have here are exceptional, and I get to support them. And at the end of the day, my job is to eliminate obstacles for them and our student athletes to be successful, whether that's on the court in competition or in the classroom. And we're very successful there too.
Yep.
I talked about our championships and whatnot, but our student athlete GPA is over a 3.3.
It's outstanding.
Yeah, I mean it's the well-rounded student athlete experience at BW that you're not going to get at so many other places.
Let's wrap with this. You mentioned at some of these golf outings you get to meet other alumni from some of these different teams. I know you're here and you're supportive every week, but we don't have a chance to talk to you super regularly. What kinds of initiatives for people that haven't had a chance to meet you or who are interested in trying to find ways to support the Yellow Jackets other than just putting a button in a seat and showing up and cheering them on? What ways right now are available for people to come support BW Athletics?
Yeah, I tell you, we're looking at a lot of different things this year and really trying to engage more and more alums. First, if you come to a game, find me. I'm there. I like to have a good time, cheer on the Jackets, so don't be afraid to show up. Not, see the tall, 125-pound soaking wet former wrestler, tap on my shoulder and let's have a conversation. But some of the things we're looking forward to, right? We're going to do another Giving Day in November. That's financially is big for our department. We've done some good things out of there. You're going to see some new uniforms on the football team this year that came through that. Our track and cross country team has gotten some new equipment that will help them prepare for championships as they move forward, which is great. And all of our programs benefit from that. So that's really big. And then different other events that we have throughout the year. I travel a fair amount, which is really one of the fun parts of the job, and going in those travels to go out and meet alumni. So even if you're not in Berea, check the schedules, see where we're playing at. We travel all over the country. Baseball's going to Florida. Um, uh, wrestling's in Nashville in the wintertime. So all different places. The big one is softball is going to go to California and Hawaii. I just found out like last week the AD needs to go on that trip, which is just terrible.
Yeah. Tough scene. You need an announcer?
Yeah, right. But just being engaged, is so important. We're talking about, and this is the kind of the scary conversation is for a lot of people is what name, image, and likeness means. You could do a whole podcast on that, even at the Division III level. And I think there's a place where our student athletes have a brand that could benefit some companies. And how do we educate our student athletes in that space?
Sure.
And so if you're in the business world and the marketing world, we're looking at people that can talk to our student athletes and how we can connect them with those engagements that then will serve them after their playing careers are done. Because at the end of the day, I want to win championships. I tell all our guys that, but you didn't come to BW just to win championships. You came to get your degree, and we need to be committed to that as well as we are committed in the weight room and committed to competition. But we also need our alumni and our friends to help us. So as we get our student athletes to that point, we can help connect them with that next job that will then hopefully catapult them to a great career and a great life.
Absolutely thrilled for what the Yellow Jackets did last year. I know it was a great summer and some big plans for the coming year. Good luck.
Can I just do one more thing because I told Coach Hare and Rob Becker and Jeff Miller that I had to loop this in somehow.
Oh boy.
With the soccer coach on and my affinity for Ted Lasso, I feel like I had to get something in.
Uh-oh.
And one of the best scenes in Ted Lasso is talking about overtime. The best thing the NCAA has done this year is there's no overtime in the regular season for soccer. So Ted Lasso would be good with that. There's no ties.
He would be.
So I got to add that piece just to have a little bit of fun to end the show.
That was a lot tamer than I was expecting.
Yeah, I get There's kids watching.
Great to see you. Steve Thompson, our Director of Athletics at BW, as we wrap up show number 1 here of the season. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much.
All right, we do have a couple events.